Okay, where's the button? So, is the introduction? Yeah. I have had a chance to speak to each other. I'm founder of Iskander company, and we are creating communities all over the world to help startups to go global from one market to another. So.
All right, cool. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, the guys as well. My name's Josh Igo. I'm the marketing manager for ICO. We are a new protocol level coin. We're based out of Seoul, South Korea. As you can tell, I'm not Korean, but I can speak Korean, and my colleague Jason also is not Korean. He's from Canada. I'm from the UK. We're trying to build a scalable blockchain and in a decentralized way.
Great. I'm sorry, a little too loud here. Is that okay? My name is Edward. I'm from the United States. We have an international company called Unblock blockchain. Today, this conference is our inaugural launch of our project called World Token. And our World Token is the next generation e-wallet that we feel is a ecosystem that people can go from the traditional cash wallet into the crypto wallet world. Right? In addition to the crypto world, you can manage your wealth and manage your personal assets. So that's what our current calling card is.
Hello, my name is Aaron Tsai. I'm the founder and chief capitalist of Moss Capital FinTech, and Moss Capital Universal Exchange. We have launched Moss Trade, which is a cryptocurrency exchange on August 1st this year, and is building the next generation AI and blockchain-based securities exchange, commodities exchange, forex exchange, and digital asset exchange.
Awesome, thank you. So as a disclaimer, nobody on this panel knows the type of questions I've prepared for them, because I think there is so much BS in the ICO space, and we really need to address some really important questions and issues now. And I don't want it to be rehearsed, so it's going to be raw as it gets. So let's start with, what do you guys think are the main issues right now in building an ICO community for your ICO? And we have experience with ICO, post-ICO exchange, VC and events, so I'm really looking forward to insights from your personal experience, from your business experience.
Well, to be honest, scams. There are a lot of scammers out there, especially on Telegram. There are hundreds of people who pretended to be me and Jason and tried to scam investors, and honestly, that is awful to go through, and that's the biggest roadblock. Telegram needs to try and address that, I think, because we all use Telegram to communicate with our communities. So that's a big problem that I see from my perspective. We've just finished our ICO in May, and it was unbelievable, the amount of scams. We actually found some guys in Nigeria. We tracked down their IP, and we reported them to the police and the authorities, but that is an ongoing problem, and I think that is the biggest problem in building a community.
I want to that everyone, I see a lot of people talking about scams, and it's right, they're talking about Telegram. Everything is bad in Telegram, it's true. But as a marketing agency, I would say a lot of times we offer, for example, guys using another software, for example, that we are developing or something like that, and build real community. And we say it takes about from 6 months to and more, because it's a real community. And we need a strategy, we need people for that, and don't wait for 20,000 people or 40,000 people, and so it's some kind of controversial. So I mean, a lot of ICO that we see, they're talking about scams. The Telegram is bad, so and they still proceed using airdrop bounty bots. So for example, let's start from the beginning. Let's put 1,000 bots in Telegram group, and then because people are, and 1,000 bots, like 1,000 is a real community. If you have 1,000 people, you're like a god, you know, like you have thousands of hands. That doesn't mean you have the people who thousands of people who believe in your product. You could spend nothing at marketing because they can do anything all over the world, all over the planet. I mean, it's a great coverage. I think it's like corporation. 1,000 people working on you, not full time, for example. So, the next insight is when thinking that a lot of investor and analytics and fund, they open for themselves such tool like SimilarWeb. So they're trying to they open that these magic numbers is not a criteria. So they start reading what is going on in the group and using this one, see how the group was going on. So they see like, okay, so I think it should change in about once or two, because it can't proceed in that way anymore.
Okay, it's a great point. My company, under the project name World Token, as a disclaimer, we don't do ICO. There's sensitivity issues around the world. However, I have a personal experience with ICOs. The current data that I read from Bloomberg was the fact that this past year, there are about 82% of the ICOs out there are actually classified as a scam. Okay, there are approximately 12 to 13% that are, I would say, buy and dump. You buy the token with a green white paper and then you sell it quickly when it's listed, and then you cash out and you disappear. The other 5% potential candidates, usually with some functional use and actually platforms from company that really want to do something in the blockchain community. So these are things I think that the community leaders in this conference has a responsibility, I feel. Okay. Now everybody wants to make money, but if we are true evangelists for the blockchain community, we should make the effort to filter out all the garbage and make sure that our community members, right, can realize the truth from the false, and make sure that they can focus on that 5% that will make the change the world and be the disruptive technology.
From the exchange perspective, I don't see that as a problem. Because as the exchanges have a large number of customers, or here we call community members, the exchanges play a significant role in the success of many ICO projects, especially the status of exchange listing approval or higher market tier listing are endorsements by the exchanges, which will greatly enhance an ICO to attract attention from members of various blockchain communities.
Thank you so much. So Aaron touched base a bit on the idea of meeting your community face to face, of building it in time. In the ICO space, there's been this rush against time. There's always you're against time to build something in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, maximum 2 weeks pre-sale, 1 week maybe private sale, 6 weeks crowd sale, and so on. What do you think about this approach that he proposed about building it in time, building a community with live events, getting to know the people personally, intimately? Do you think we could see this in the future in the ICO space, and how we could do to educate upcoming ICOs to do it, to shift the way they approach this?
Well, HiCon itself, because we're not just an ERC20 token, we're a protocol level new coin, we have to actually entice developers to come and build on top of what we're trying to do. So one of the things that we're doing is having hackathons. Actually, on Friday and Saturday of this week in Seoul, we're having our first HiCon Hacks. It's absolutely free to attend. So if anyone is in Seoul and likes to come along, we've already got 300 people signed up. If you are coming from abroad, we will reimburse your flight in ICON coins. So that's a way to get the coins spread out around the world and encourage development in that way. So it's a slightly bit of a different answer from me because we're not just another ERC20 trying to tokenize something.
It's interesting that we talked about making things personal. Again, I came from the corporate side and on the entrepreneurial side. On the corporate side, it's very impersonal. Right? It's big corporate dollars, marketing, and branding behind it. In the crypto world right now, I feel that it's still a young industry. For us to create a solution, create a coin, to create a following, I agree, we need to be personal because the founders, the creators, the people that actually put together the solution did it for a reason. And the community need to know that reason and why he want to create this solution, what problems is he solving. So making it personal will allow the closeness, if you may, that stickiness that people say, hey, I like what this guys have to say, I like his solution, I'm going to follow it and I'm going to use it. So this is my personal feeling. Make it personal.
Okay, about the timing of different stages of the coin sale up to ICO, my background is from the investment banking background. I've been taking companies public in the US since 1995. Selling stock and selling coin is the same set of skills and strategies. So basically, the longer period in coin sales, you'll have to have a higher discount to the ICO price. And so if a company gather a lot of marketing resources, such as team up with our exchange, for example, it's called mass trade. And if we provide the large community, then the time period would be much shorter in promoting. Then you don't need to go through too many stages.
I think we can change situation with that. So that way that ICO are going to put any resources and timings and educational resources for building community only that way if there will be economical reason. I mean, who can control the startups? I mean, only two ways. I mean, funds and exchanges. They really, if they say, okay, funds say, if you are building fake community, we will never invest in you. And if exchanges say, if you know, like you can have a huge discount in any exchange if you have a really great community because they're interested in new people. So if they are, sometimes exchanges is a reason of scamming SEO. I mean, they list something that is not cool. I mean, everyone knows it. It's not the news for you. And if they put a new and for example, not only funds, it could be like a rating scoring agency, like ICO rating. They were here, and a lot of other companies. They can say, okay, I open similar work. I see how you do it. Okay, that's not it's not a community, so I put a benchmark to you and do it publicly. I mean, they try. Every ICO will try to find a new way. So that is.
Thank you. Okay, so there's a lot of debate, and we know for sure that airdrops and bounty are not that effective for the ICOs. And as a three-letter organization recently announced that we don't want to say names. Recently announced that airdrops and bounties are securities, so they should be regulated. We should do KYC and so on. This is going to become increasingly hard when you have 13,000 plus members in the community, out of which maybe 10% have 3-4 accounts, and they're looking to make the extra buck. How can, and clearly it's not going to be effective. So how can we shift from this airdrop bounty principle to bring in people and how we could use still the part that works in these models to bring people closer, but without necessarily treating them as securities. Like, for example, your example is very good with reimbursing for flights and tokens. I want to hear more ideas because I know ICOs will keep on appearing, so we want to give people ideas and generate value, right, going forward.
I think it's interesting that you said that. KYC, I'm just going to promote a different project entirely. It's based in France. It's called WeStart.co, and they actually do airdrops with fully KYC'd users. So it's 70 euro cent per KYC'd user that you can pay them, essentially, to do airdrops to their community. They've got 92,000 people that have signed up, and they've, on their platform, have KYC'd every individual person.
Which platform is that, sorry?
WeStart.co. They are based in France. They're nothing to do with our project. We just bumped into them at a different conference. So that would be one solution if people are thinking about that.
Okay, so I think that from the solution side, I talk a lot less of the coin. So the value, of course, you can apply securities, utilities, you can call it reward system, but it really comes down to the fundamentals. What is the use, the functional use? So I heavily rely on the fact that we have to have functional applications and uses for the coins to be effective value. Okay? That would take away all the questions. Is it a utility? Is it a hollow coin? What is behind it? If you can use it, right, whether you use it as a bartering system within a small farm, you can use it into a country, anything you want, the digital cryptocurrency world allow you to tag or apply that functional use into a platform. And that's the beauty behind it, rather than trying to classify what is a security utility. I went through a lot of this in the last 6 months, believe me. So SEC in the United States, the China, everything else that go along with it. So I think the functional use would clarify what is it, what can we do with that particular crypto. Okay.
Well, in promoting the coin sales, we can borrow from the skill and experience in selling stock in the IPO process. So effective communication, including publication of use cases, media article write-ups, product or service updates. It is important to continuously attract people's attention to get them in on different round stage up to the IPO, the ICO, I mean. And then on the regulation side, other than the US, you can get a legal opinion from a major law firm, whether it's a utility or a security coin. In the US, if you want to promote a coin to the public, right now at this moment, SEC is consider any public sale is securities. They don't care. Although I think they're clueless, but they have the power. So you should avoid the US if you want to do an ICO.
Yeah, I think many projects do. We excluded America and China and Singapore for that reason. It's a smart way.
That's the standard in ICOs. You
Yeah.
have a disclaimer. No citizens from China, US, or Singapore.
Yeah.
And Korea. And only on that country they're doing marketing then.
Yes, but then
Yeah.
again, they will do roadshows in Asia, and they will. It's just a side of the other coin, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I
Before
think.
you move on, before you move on to another question, one thing I'd like to add is that we do use our bounty tokens to incentivize people to take action, rather than just share something on social media, but actually to go out there in the community. So we've created an ambassador program. So that's going to be something that's really interesting. And if you're interested in that, please come and speak to me afterwards. I just wanted to add that, sorry.
Yeah, quality control is very important.
Yeah, I think bounty and airdrop is still working. I mean, if you do it right, for example, you can read the LMS group article they published recently. Marina, she did Civic and Wax, really cool startups, you know. And I think if you want to make reparty fast, you can do the product, for example. For example, you can do the product that is using tokens, and it could be half of its utility purpose. But if the user can take this token and go to the platform, it's not a security. I mean, you can work against any investigation because it's not a problem. You take this token and go pay in this as a wallet or system or take a discount or some. But I mean, you can't imagine like 2% of its value and saying it's a security. No, it should be half or 40% or more. It can so it should be useful. And another thing is, I mean, when everyone's saying that the bounty is done, as you said, quantity against quality. I mean, it's better to take 10 or 12 people who are really cool at writing articles, giving feedbacks, writing code like open bounty program. Anyway, I think you know what does it mean. Yeah? If you are writing hackathons, it's a really good idea. So if you take this guy and pay them by token, it could be really cool advisors. Okay, why not? It's workable, but don't ask them to push like button on Facebook. I mean, it's obvious.
I liked Richard's idea with making it an application process, right? Like people should really bring some value in, not just their presence, but actual value. And speaking of values, the ICO space is changing, so we're seeing a lot of people aiming towards doing security token offerings, STOs or equity token offering, ETOs. Can we talk about community in this kind of let's say, ICO 3.0? And if yes, then how could we build a community surrounding this particular type of funding, of building a product?
We are not security, so I'm not going to comment about that. So I can't really speak on that.
So I have a view in that. Our company is a blockchain solutions center. So we see the crypto or the tokens is a form of a vehicle to transmit value or from instructions from one point to another point. On the security side, I always have paid attention to this because, again, I spent a lot of time in Wall Street. The most recent trend that I saw in 2018 is fixed asset, where precious metals or real estate projects can be tokenized. And it really becomes cool because it no longer is bounded by the regional area. Especially say in Hong Kong, Singapore, and London, there's a lot of gold sitting in vaults that's not being used. They don't want to monetize it, they want to consider maybe selling it, or they want to digitize it. Now you have a real token, of course you have to register and everything else, that carry a real physical asset with it and becomes liquid. You can take that digital coin, go to any secure international vault and convert that back into gold you wish. That's a tremendous vehicle and tool. And in addition to that, I think those type of precious metal or gold type of security tokens allows the third world countries, their fiat has very little value in the global community or trade and what have you. But having the ability to convert whatever fixed asset they have in gold or silver into a digital secure asset-backed secure coin, now you can position that into a platform utility token to now do trade and have physical value behind that country's coin, where the fiat people don't want from Andorra, from Venezuela, they don't want their money anymore. It is terrible. And I feel bad for those countries because they can't really do international commerce. Right? So I think that the fixed asset, you call it maybe 3.0, is an important movement into our communities, into our market trend.
Okay, the security coin offering, I believe you're focusing on the equity of the company. So that would be a combination of IPO and ICO, where this would attract crowds, the community people from both worlds, from the traditional equity world and from the crypto world, because of the trading medium is crypto. But from the traditional side, when a company wants to do a STO up to a listing on, for example, on our exchange, which we will be a crypto-based stock exchange, and then they will bring their traditional investor already in their firm. They all have to open an account on our exchange. So with the increasing number of company listed on our exchange, it will bring investor or community members from both the crypto world and the traditional world.
I really like what was just said here by Aaron, because again, I believe in the marriage or the convergence of the old world and new world. It's inevitable. Even though we try to say that we're going to disrupt the industry and get rid of the old world, it doesn't happen overnight. I think this convergence of securities, combining the traditional securities world and the digital world, is a very important next step, and it should be happening very soon. Right? We're talking about it. A lot of people don't know how to do it, and hopefully maybe with Aaron and his team or his style of investors, they can bring this into the limelight. I'd love to see it.
As we're talking about security tokens, securities have only one meaning. It's just a security. It's not any surprise for me. We have a lawsuit, we have everything, we have a stock exchange, and we have the rules. So now it's, I think in 5 or 6 years, half of the assets will be tokenized, but there is nothing new in it. So I'm personally not interested in security. Like, I mean, I could be only interested in putting somewhere my money to grow. It could be the security tokens, and it could lie on my wallet. Because, for example, I don't like exchanges. It's my choice. Yeah. Yeah, so if we are talking about utility token is a product. So only product needs a community. If you're, for example, there is an interesting startup of electric scooter in USA, and Vamp. Vamp and Bird raised about $300 million. I mean, like a new bubble, maybe. Crazy sum, yeah. And its rival raised, it's like venture round. It was venture, A round, A, and another is Vamp, and Vamp raised 100 million 20, and it was raised by using security token in America. It really works there now. If it's legal, it's okay. I think it's somehow 99 is investor or something like that, but it works, and they only need now to build a community. But for those who are not who buy tokens or security, for others who are riding the electric scooter, that's supported. So it's like mass. I mean, asset security token and utilities different. But ICO is like a method of fundraising of protocols. Like we can talk about any other things.
Thank you.
I would like to add, because the security tokens cover various classes of assets. So compared to the existing ICO market, the utility token is only a small iceberg to the future securities token market. That's why Mass Capital Universal Exchange is targeting the security.
So maybe I should talk first. This is my sweet spot. I'm in the application space, so I truly believe that any token, whether it's utility, asset, or securities, you have to have functionality and uses behind it, right? A simple coin is Bitcoin. There's a very trivial and tremendous use. I send it to you, it carries a value. You change the key, you send it back to me, it changes the key. It does its job. Whatever value it carries, we believe in the market. The market justifies the value. So when you get involved into a business solution, you're talking about retail. Retail could be mean individuals, or you go to a store. Ideally, you could go into a store and buy something with your token. Whether it's WPD token, ours, Ethereum, Bitcoin, doesn't really matter. It's a crypto. It could be even a gold-backed crypto. It could be a real estate-backed crypto. It has a value, right? So I'd love to see that happen. And that will only happen if the POS companies, okay, and the micropayment organizations, the processors that usually pay MasterCard and Visas, work hand in hand because they actually own that processing, whether we like it or not, right? So we have exchange, we have POS companies working purely in the crypto form, but until the time when the technology mature enough to do the massive transactions per second, we still need the current processing companies to work with cryptos hand in hand. So I think that's what you were asking for, functional use in our daily lives. And that's what I'm promoting with my app. It's very, very important. I've been in the technology business too long now, and sometimes I get a little tired of talking about technology. How in the world can I use this to better my life? And that's really the key. Right?
Okay, I think you're focusing on how to get investor participating in coin sales to actually be using the technology
Product development.
in terms of product or service. But that would apply to certain businesses, such as a public chain, where a developer or investors, or for example, on our exchange, the investor would actually be our customers. But not every business can have investor also use their technology. But I don't think that's relevant, because if they don't use it, then the utility coin would just be highly speculative.
Yeah, I mean, I actually agree with what you just said. One of the most important things is getting point of sale devices across the world. I actually think there's a group of people here from Salamantex, and also from, I don't know if they're here today, but I've met them recently, Pundi-X. They're trying to bring crypto payment solutions into stores, which is really good. I'm just plugging your company as you're walking in. Yeah, so I think that that's absolutely needed in this space to get the mass adoption that we're looking for. And when it comes to scalable blockchains, I mean, that's what Icon's trying to do, but in a decentralized way. So you've got other coins that are more scalable, but they're not really decentralized. They've got trusted nodes, and they're basically private, essentially. They're permissioned coins. So we're a permissionless coin that anyone can join. It's open source, and please get involved. Go to our GitHub and check the source code.
So when you're using the device, if it's too clogged, it recommends you to do defragmentation for better performance. And I've always had this idea of using this principle, defragmented in your own community, whether it's pre-ICO, ICO, post-ICO, and going to a micro format, so creating micro communities. What's your take on this? Could this help? What's your take between global and micro communities?
Well, actually, I think Will's talk yesterday from Bangkok was really interesting about the local cryptocurrency and how that can help emerging, developing economies. Our company that actually created Icon is called Oscar. It's based in South Korea. They also have local cryptocurrency projects, one of which is called No One, and the other one is called Yeongdeungpo, and those are two districts of Seoul. And we do see the value there in the voluntary work and things like that. So I think there's a use case for smaller local cryptocurrencies, definitely. Yeah.
I think I talked to the same person from Kenya, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting fella. I have a lot of friends that are Americans that are doing work in Kenya and also in Ghana, different parts of the African area. The tier 3, tier 4 countries, the micro community, if you may, really needs help. You know, I think that the idea of having a micro coin or micro, I would say, community that can support their own ecosystem, right, where they allow them to trade by using a local cryptocurrency is tremendous because they don't have access to the fiat or the fiat's not trusted. Now, I think one level beyond that, so once that is mature or in place, ideally you have a platform utility token that allows them to go from community to community. So this is something that for those who are in the business and who are actually in that environment, want to help those communities, whether you call it micro or not, we can help them do it right away. It's not that difficult to do. Right? You have to be there, not you just do it. Right? So we in our community is much larger in fintech. I try to position WBD as a platform utility token for fintech, so that if you use digital gold or other assets, you can convert that in WBD back, right? Very conveniently through our platform. So again, this is something that we offer. We're doing it today, the micro community area, especially in tier 3 countries. Do it right away. Just do it for them. It costs almost nothing.
Okay, rather than talking about segmenting existing community, I would like to talk about the cryptocurrency already bringing the unbanked people from the developing and the third world country. And what we're doing is building the security-based exchange with various type of asset. This will allow these people that normally will not be able to make investment in stocks or real estate trust, but with the crypto world going to asset base, this will, in the future, our mass capital universal exchange will allow them to make investment in developed nations' assets and bring them into the new, as a new community member.
Yeah, the question was about the fragmentation. You mean
if you use micro communities to start building localized communities and then going global?
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Because now what we see is we build global communities for an ICO, but we know nothing about them. Nobody is asking you where are you from. There's no analytics for your group on Telegram and so on.
You know, I think the first thing I don't like is when you say like the ICO is like something that is in the middle. Like it's not the right location. Yeah, it's not in the middle. It's somewhere. Something is not important at all. The second is, I mean, when you say global community, I mean, I think you should feel responsibility about saying that. In my opinion, global community, for example, we are trying to build it. I'm on the market about 2.5 years, and I can't say that I have global community, global connection. Just a lot of time, money, and reputation, work to go to some city that no one knows you and understand how the people think here and what they're looking for, how it works over there. I mean, to impact them that you are the right person that you can work to. I mean, for every startup, it's really, really important if you want to become a really global community. Like the centralized projects have like Google or Apple. Like they have a community. They have different types of shops. They have different types of positioning. They have different types. They take local people on the market. That doesn't mean decentralized or decentralized. I mean, in decentralization communities is much more important. Of course, you should find the people. For example, not all people speak in English, for example. So when we have one group in Telegram, it's not a community at all. I think so. As I said, it's an audience. It's strange, random people. We don't know them. It's not a community. Just like I come to crowd place, for example, take it squared, buy some things, you know, and said, this is my community. No, it's not a community, like it's strange people that stay. Maybe some of them is my bro, I mean, my community, and they can help me some way, but I should talk to each other to find this is Chinese people, this is Japanese people.
Well, Oktoberfest in Germany, obviously, but in our
10
industry,
years. 10 years.
yeah, it's the 10-year anniversary of the Bitcoin white paper on October 31st of this year. It's 10 years. So let's give a round of applause to Satoshi Nakamoto. And now I want you to get involved and go on satoshi10.io and submit your story. So what we've created is a site called satoshi10.io where you can say how Satoshi Nakamoto has changed your life. It's absolutely free. You can upload your picture, you can upload your company logo and give a paragraph about, or a short sentence, whatever you want, about how Satoshi Nakamoto has influenced your life in the last 10 years. So I wanted to get that in there before we move on. While I remember. So please go and do that.
Really, really good initiative. Let's talk about where ICOs are failing their communities.
Failing?
Failing
Where?
their communities. Why and where? And in this sense, is it still relevant to do an ICO today? Because I feel they are failing in terms of understanding gamification in the wrong principles and implementing it in the very beginning instead of midway, after you build a user base, after you build a community. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
They're failing in product development. That is the reality. Many ICOs have no intention of fulfilling the promises that they've made, and they're all on the Black Sea. That's what I like to say. Many of them are on the yacht in the Black Sea, and that you'll never see them again. You won't see many of these ICOs actually come into reality because they never really had any intention of building what they were supposed to build. They were all about marketing, and they thought, oh, we'll just hire some random developers, we'll outsource it later and try and build it. I think that's the wrong approach. So I think that's where they're failing, and I think actually that is reflected in the crash in Ethereum right now, because so many people have lost faith in the ICO model because so many companies haven't delivered on what they promised, so therefore people are getting out of their ETH tokens, and they're getting out of ETH and they're getting out of crypto. So we need to take it a bit more seriously, lads, I think.
Well, coming from the financial world, I look at from a profitability perspective. So if a company price their currency too high and fail to support it in the aftermarket, then their community member is going to be upset because they trust the company, they believe in the future. That's why they take their life saving and buy the currency.
Never do that, by the way. Don't put all of your life savings in an ICO. I mean, if someone's done that, then God bless them, but do not do that.
Right, but the other problem it's not controllable by the company, such as Ethereum. When the price after the ICO goes up, and the community member that are developers continues to buy at a very high price. That's not something that the company can control.
So I think that, again, from a traditional software development or application development point of view, during my time, we used to spend a lot of time designing, writing the application, to get close to almost completion. Then we raised the money to do the launch, to do the marketing, to let the people know, hey, we got this fantastic software, version 1 is out, buy it, use it. I talk about this quite a bit in my various talks this past 2 years, is that the ICO world turned that backwards, upside down. Because of the popularity and the hype behind crypto, nowadays people say, I will raise money first. Hopefully they have a great idea and create a white paper. If not, they borrow some ideas and hire somebody to write paper, raise money, and then promise to develop the software. And the chances are, like I said earlier before, 82% of it is scams. So this is exactly what you said earlier. People failed in writing software, or they don't write it at all. They pocket the money, says, hey, I got $5 million. Let's close up shop and that's it.
Go to the Black Sea.
Yeah, the Black Sea, exactly. So the idea that I think the community that you're talking about now, we should learn from experience. You know, the last 4 years we saw a lot. We saw a lot in 2017 and 2018. People should be more cognizant and really more aware of the fact that this company, is it a real company? Do they have real solutions in mind? Are they solving a problem? Even though they might not have the right people in the technology, do they have the right management to bring in the technology? Because our community is too big. We cannot do everything ourselves. And then now you can decide whether this new token or ICO will fail or not. But the chances are, based on statistics, it will fail. So you'd be very selective in what's failing, what's not failing. And from my old school, somebody should show you some stuff. Show me some software, ideally. Even though it's not finished, show me some stuff. Show me that's really the key, okay?
I think again only that what I mentioned that, for example, in Russia they have such a discourse that the first is there are two types of company. The first is just take money, no one knows where they are, and the second is building a product, and they're very proud of it. And I mean, building a product, what they're doing, they're writing a code. They delete all marketing, all community managers, everyone. They say you don't need because we are real programmers, and they start writing a code. And if they collect about $10 million as a minimum, they can write a code, for example, 100 a year, sitting in the office and doing nothing. I mean, this like basic thing that, I mean, code is the next mistake. Like when we are talking about building a product. I mean, building products like a product manager, and you are go out of office and go to the client or to whom it will use and try to make some UI. For example, I think that we all need the next Robin Hood. You know, Robin Hood app. It's one of the biggest, coolest. I mean, when I was developing an API for one company that is a trading company, and we make an API between the client and server as a development team, and as I said, maybe you are going to make a design. I would say, oh, great idea, because you have a little crisis in Russia because you can't attract your client, and we show them Robinhood, say, let's try to make. They say, no, we are not making terminal for young girls. We are making it for true traders, and ask me to make a design with the three colors: red, green, and black. You know, and it doesn't work. No one likes it. So I think that if you want to join, when and in 1994, if you would like to enter the internet, you should do PhD computer science. I think the next step is very important when building a community, to remember that this is ordinary people that don't want to take a ledger into the computer to find 24s. I mean, it's very hard. For example, I just now meet the guy who showed me the wireless crypto wallet, gold wallet. He just come here and show, and he said, I'm going to mainland to take the first party. It's like cool, and you can touch them and pay right from the place. He just did it on his own money. He's from Russia. He knows that I'm here, and he goes there. I mean, and I think it will look real good interface. That's how it will work, and how a community will take new product only with a good UI.
Yeah, definitely. I think also people have to be using cryptocurrency without knowing that they're using cryptocurrency. That's the number one thing. Many people will use email, right? I guess all of us, but I guess most of us couldn't make that underlying technology ourselves or even really explain it. I think that's what blockchain has to do, really. It has to get into every person's hands, and so they're using it in everyday life without knowing that they're using the technology. So it has certain use cases that it's more favorable than others for everyday life, like currency being one. And I think that that's the most important thing, the UI, the UX on the wallets, having mobile wallets, having easy payment cards. I think one of the best designed UI, UX wallets out there is called Exodus. I don't know if anyone's tried that, but definitely check it out. It's one of the first wallets I used years ago. It's a multi-cryptocurrency storage wallet, and shameless plug, Icon is going to get integrated onto that later on. which is going to solve a lot of our own UI issues because we've got the underlying technology, but we don't necessarily have all of the people we need to build the right applications so that people can interface and interact with it. So there are a lot of good solutions out there right now, and I think that we need to do that more. Work on that type of real-world, everyday life thing.
Thank you. One last question before we take questions from the public. In the idea of what's more important, or what was first, the hen or the egg, you know the story. What's more important?
Chicken and the egg.
Exactly. What's more important for the real success of a company in this space? Is it community, technology, both? Just your opinion.
Maybe I can speak a little bit on this issue here because half my life is in corporate and half my life is in entrepreneurships. I learned many years ago there is 5 main components of successful a new business, new idea. I call it the 5 pillars. Each pillar is just as important as the other. So this is going back when I was like 29 years old. Some mentor teach me these things.
Last year then.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll pay you later, okay? So the first pillar, which is a very important one, is the market demand for your product or your idea. You know, we're not Apple, we're not IBM. You know, sometimes we cannot create the market, right? Secondly, is that you do have a product and services that meet the demand of the market. So that's where your entrepreneurship and your thinking comes into place. The third is the timing, the window of opportunity. You know, in Marketing 101, you're too early, too late, you're to the middle. Right? You really have to know your timing to get into the market, right? The fourth one is a challenging one for most entrepreneurs, is the people, the resources. I started my first business in 2004, but it's actually 1984. I'm a little older than most people here. My first computer business was in 1984. I didn't know anybody. I came from corporate, right? So I struggled a little bit. Then I learned that I have to encircle my ecosystem with people. So the people resource is very important, right? The last component, based on what I learned from my mentors, is the finance. Where in the ICO world, they turn the whole upside down. So I got the money now, then what? Then hopefully you have the knowledge of a solution, hopefully you understand your market, hopefully your timing is correct, and hopefully you have the people to get things done. But what are the chances now you have the other 4 pillars in hand when you have the money in your hand? It's not that easy. It takes a long time to build those 5 pillars. Not one pillar is more important than the other. You have all the money in the world, you have no people to get it done, you will fail.
Okay, what I see, both components are equally important, the technology and the community. But also one more thing missing is the coin price, because people have to make money. And from an exchange perspective, we do have to have a good technology to have accurate trading and safe trading, prevent from theft and inaccurate tracking of the trading and the assets. And we don't look at them as community, we look at them as customers. And they open account and trade, and we have to provide them good technology and good service. And the more trading, because our utility coin will be used to pay for the services, then the price will gradually increase. So all 3 components are important to measure the success in a blockchain company like our Mass Capital Universal Exchange that we're building.
Okay, I think he passed.
Questions? Does anybody have questions for the guests? No questions? Did I ask all the questions? Then before we close this panel and wrap up the conference, I think Aaron has an announcement about next step in building the Iskander community.
Yeah, I think sorry, it's our organization event. We have a party after it, so I think everyone can join. Yeah, I think I should close this event. First, thanks all for coming. It's our first event in Asia. Next, we are going to move to Ukraine, and then we are going to Korea. And please, you all can join our Telegram group, Facebook, and some other channels to see what we are doing, because we have a great intention, because we feel now confidence about what we are doing, and we see that a lot of companies in the first wave was shutting down. I mean, we see that a great product and real investors and real guys come to this market, and now we think it's time to move forward. So please connect us, and thank you for coming.
Now, before everybody goes to the party, I have one observation to make. I was a guest host here for 2 days. I want to thank you for having me. I hope I didn't fail you. This is important for me. But I would like to say that these guys from Iskander did an amazing job. I've been at events for over a year now, meetups, conferences that take people money, that promise and not under-deliver, don't deliver. And I think that what we've seen these past 2 days is a different kind of conference that brings value, not just to the blockchain expert or to the ICO or to the person offering services, but also to the person looking to learn. And I think this is something that can really upgrade the experiences we have as attendees, participants, sponsors, and so on in this type of conference. So let's give a round of applause to Aaron and his team.